Strawman arguments and playing it right. What in the world am I talking about? Well, this morning I was listening to an interview between a couple of different people, a guy named David French. David French is a kind of conservative evangelical Christian from the United States who runs a news site called The Dispatch, and a guy named Jonathan Pierce. Jonathan Pierce is a liberal-minded atheist who comes from the UK. And so they are quite disparate in their worldviews. And yet it was a very cordial conversation, really not much of a debate as much as it was a conversation. And near the end of it, David French said something that I thought was very interesting. He encouraged listeners of any persuasion to not just listen to the opposite side's straw man arguments, but to really expose themselves to the very best in their thinking, so that they can know how their own thinking stacks up against it. So straw man argument, you might maybe heard somebody say straw man before, straw man. You have this picture of like a scarecrow. And so I did a little digging into it. The etymology of the term is a little bit uncertain, to be honest with you, but you can read kind of like people doing this whole straw man argument way back for thousands of years into ancient philosophy like Aristotle and Plato, where they would kind of create this kind of a weak argument of whatever their opposing view is and say, see that this is your view, right? Let me punch it over, or let me blow it down, because it's super weak. But the truth is that they created a weak version of the opposing argument just to kind of bolster their own view. And I think we do this. I think I do this more often than I probably realize. I look for, I almost search out weak articulations of other people's arguments that are against mine, just so I can say, see, come on. And if I was really courageous, and if I really believed a little bit further down in my gut what I say I believe, I would be more inclined to step out in faith a little bit and engage with the best in the other side of the argument. I wonder how we can know what the best of another side's argument is, well, they'll probably let it rise to the top themselves, right? So if you're looking for the best in atheistic thought, well, if you search out what atheists themselves purport as their best, that'd be the side to kind of engage with, if you want to see what's going on with that side of the worldview. I say all this for my own benefit a little bit. I'm kind of processing through it. I thought it was interesting, but what it also did was it jarred a very vivid memory for me. So about, I don't know, it's probably about 15 years ago or so now. It could be even more. I was recording an album. I did part of it in Canada and part of it in the UK with a glorious producer whose name is Julian Kindred. Julian, if you're watching this, love you. He was in the UK at the time, but he's from Canada. And so we spent many late nights recording music. And so in the creative process, you really want collaboration. So you really want the best idea to win. You'll hear that used a lot. I just want the best idea to win, whatever's the best idea. But there's also a subtext, which is hard to kind of fully escape for creatives. Hopefully I'm not letting the cat out of the bag. But there's also a little bit of competition. You want the best idea to win, but you sure would love it if your idea was the best idea. maybe I'm alone in that. I don't think I am, but maybe I am. So, you've got a drum part down, you've got the bass line laid out, and you're starting to get to the point where you do what we might call overdubs. You want kind of like some tasty guitar material over top of it. So somebody will propose an idea. They say, what if you do like an arpeggiated thing, kind of like this? And someone will say, yeah, why don't you tweak it a little bit and kind of go and make it a little bit more rhythmic. So now you've just been faced with a choice. You have to try to implement this person's idea to see if it's going to work. And so you're doing it. You kind of your fingers kind of fumble over it. And you go, yeah, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if it works. And this is when Julian would step in with his, I won't be able to give you the quote, but I will be able to quote you the principle behind it, which he said, before you know whether or not you like it, you have to do it right. You have to do it right. And those words, that principle has stuck with me all this time. And I think it still really, really applies today. Before you can make a value judgment about whether or not it's good, you have to actually do it right. You have to do it the way that it's intended to do. So with music, it's got to be in time. It's got to be in tune, right? And if you don't do it in time and in tune, if you don't do it with the right kind of velocity and the right kind of feeling, then you can't really judge whether or not it's a good idea until you've done it right. Now, after that, you could still be divided on your opinion. Somebody could say, I love it. Somebody could say, I hate it. People have made wildly different assumptions about songs. There's so many hit songs that that bands have been divided about whether or not they should even release them on records. That's not the point. Isn't necessarily that you're going to come to some sort of unanimous decision once it's been done right. But until it's been done right, you really can't judge whether or not you like it, whether or not it is good. And so for me, I will be wrestling with these two concepts as they collide. The idea of exposing myself to really the best version of opposing thoughts. And then once it's been done right, then making an assessment about what I actually believe about it and whether or not it is good. Before you know if it's good, I think you have to do it right. May we have the courage to expose ourselves to the best in other people's opinions and thoughts.